Doomlings Imaginary Ends expansion adds quite a few modules to your Doomlings game. So if you are looking at expanding out to what is all available for your Doomlings game, this is one that does that. But does it add good stuff or not good stuff? Stick around after break and I'll let you know. All right, I think we're going to do this by kind of going over each module because what this adds is like 4 to 5 modules. It's kind of how you want to view the Fuzelings, if it's an actual module or not. So I'm going to kind of go over each kind of new ling or each new kind of thing you can add to it individually and kind of what I think of each of those. And I'll kind of cover overall the expansion. If you're wondering how any of these small ones do work, I will include a link to a playlist up above. I've done shorts kind of covering each one individually. So the first one we're going to start with, I think, is the Magical Merchants. So the Magical Merchants add basically these gold cards that you're going to try and get to, and it messes with the age deck. Instead of having the 3 ages and then the catastrophe, you're going to have 1 catastrophe, 1 age, and 2 merchant cards. And for these merchant cards, what you're going to be having are these little trinkets that are going to ask you to do certain things. Like this one wants you, or awesome powers, you cannot play a face value 3 or higher, but then its objective is trait pile needs to have 2 negatives. Once you accomplish that, you turn it over. Then you'll be able to get another one in the next turn, but it's going to give you end of game points as depicted in the bottom. So then what the merchant age cards basically allow you to do is basically switch those out, transfer them. There's one really cool one that lets you just pocket it without even doing the objective to score the points, etc. So I'll say this one is the one that changes it the most because you have these trinkets. They give you awesome powers that are really going to mess with the way you play. Sometimes they're beneficial, sometimes they're hindering. If they're hindering, more than likely they're going to give you more points. Sometimes they let your opponent do something. Like there's one that lets your opponent draw an extra card if they remember. So make sure you don't remind them. They just need to remember that you have a card that gives them that. Just let them know, like, hey, that's gone. You don't get to draw a card anymore. This also does somewhat increases the end game points because your trinkets are going to be worth points. Sometimes it does kind of seem like it's luck of the draw with some of those trinkets because one of the games that we played, I think I ended up pocketing like 8 or 9 trinkets and Bri had only gotten like 6. But the 6 she did get were kind of higher victory points, so I think I still only beat her by like 2 points total with the trinkets, even though I had so many. So sometimes people might seem like they're plowing through them because they're getting the easy one, like, reveal a green card or something. But they are going to be less points because it's not going to be that hard to get them. Whereas you might get a 5-pointer. So when they do their 3 like 1-pointers, then you're going to still do them just by beating 1. So that's kind of like that's what the Magical Merchants is. Like I said, really kind of changes things up. Next up, we have the Deeplings. The Deeplings, again, introduces a new mechanism. It's called Suppress. It's kind of like if you've played Wingspan where you tuck a card, same basic principle. You're going to use a suppress action to tuck cards underneath your traits. And at the end of the game, each suppressed one is going to be worth 1 point. However, if you lose that trait, all of your suppressed cards go to the bottom of the deck, so you lose all those built up points, and you just can't suppress cards under dominant traits. So that is a really interesting one where you're going to be able to start kind of churning through your hand possibly with some of these cards, or they even can sometimes flip them from your trait pile underneath it to kind of make your trait pile smaller. So if you have, like, say, the card Tiny, that's minus 1 point for every card in your trait pile, this would help mitigate that while still making them worth points. If you have some negative cards in your trait pile just because they're negative points or because you already used their good ability, then you can always suppress them and turn those negative points into a positive 1 point. So it is kind of an interesting mechanic there to utilize the cards in a different way and to kind of maybe see about, like as I said, maneuvering some of those negative points more into positive points. Next up, we get into, I'm going to ruin this, probably my favorite of the modules, and that is the Glitterlings, because it is just random chaos what they do. It's basically like, hey, draw this card. If it's this, do something. Or, just randomly deal this or randomly do that. It is just a bunch of random madness. There's a one cool card where it's like, after you stabilize, you can bring it up from your hand and then play it down and do other things. So it's a lot more interactive and a lot more manipulating and madness of things. And as I said, that random element is really a lot of times of basically drawing cards and basically playing them if they do a certain thing, like have a value of 1 or if they're effectless, etc. Like I said, that one where you bring it back to your hand, you're going to then play a random card from your hand. So hopefully you don't have anything bad in your hand that might cause issues because you might randomly play it. So it is just that kind of random element of chaos that gets added to the game with the Glitterlings. And finally-ish, we have the Moonlings. So this is one that is going to tailor itself to people who like a certain play style. The Moonlings, what they strive in is that they are going to want to have a small gene pool. And of course, by having a smaller gene pool, you are going to be drawing less cards and having a smaller hand. So you're going to be very limited on what you can and can't play. So when we did try out this module specifically, I know Bri wasn't too keen on it because she likes having the big hands of cards. She likes drawing cards. So with this one, basically tanking your gene pool, not having that, this was definitely low on her list of ones that she liked because of that gene pool. But that's why it might be cool to maybe swap this one in with maybe the Glitterlings. So you have that random chaos, you have the trait pool. I will say as one thing we haven't tried doing yet, we haven't tried mixing everything in. I would be a little fearful of the dilution at that point when if you mix everything in, especially cards that kind of play off of other cards from that same set. If they're now dealt in with all the other cards from Doomlings and all of these cards from the Doomlings, I feel like that might get watered down a little. So yeah, so again, Moonlings, it rewards you for having small trait piles, especially the age cards, etc. And finally, like I said, you have the Fuzelings. So the Fuzelings are a mishmashed medley of Deeplings, Moonlings, and Glitterlings. So this is one that you might want to mix in for if you're going to be doing the Glitterlings. Maybe put them in for that, or the Moonlings, or if you are going to do all that encompassing one, this kind of helps kind of patch that up. So that is the 5 modules. So what do I think overall? So as I said, we haven't tried a Chaos game yet. We still need to try a Chaos game coming up here. But overall, I like that each module feels different and not just more of the same, and not just more of the same of Doomlings. So as I said, you have your different playstyles ones. You have Suppress, which is going to be flipping cards and tucking them. You have the random one. You have the one that is going to do small gene pools, so it's going to limit your decision space. And then you have the Magical Merchants, which completely changes the game and almost gives you like gold cards to try and hit to score points. So I really enjoy that fact that they have tailor-made modules for how you want to play. So I think with them calling it a variety expansion is a good name for it. And so I think that's what this is going to be, is if you are perfectly content with base Doomlings, don't want to add anything else, are perfectly happy with the level and the way it plays, then this isn't necessary. But if you are wanting to add that variety, if you are wanting to add mechanisms and different mechanics and different strategy levels, then I think this is a good one to pick up because you don't have to add it all in at once either. As I said, we've mixed and matched, so now when we play again with them, we probably will maybe match the two that we like. Like I said, me with the random, and then we'll grab one that she likes and put them together and then see how that plays. So I do like I said, again, the module aspect of it, and it isn't, shuffle this huge deck of cards in with this huge deck of cards. But kind of touching back to what I said, if you shuffle them all in, my concern would be with them being the majority of them are basically 18 cards you're adding to the trait deck, and that trait deck is huge. It could be where if you don't shuffle them in right, you barely see any, and then it doesn't even seem like you're really playing with the expansion. When we did it, we did shuffle the expansion cards into the top half of the deck so we could make sure we experienced them. So that could be an option, put it in the top half of the deck that you know you're going to be going through. But as I said, that is my one concern with it, depending on how you normally shuffle and play the games, is the possible fact that they are going to be so widespread through the deck, you aren't really going to be able to maximize their efforts, especially seeing as they are so precise. Like I said, the suppressed ones, well, if you get tiny thinking you're going to get suppressed cards, and then you might only get like 2 the whole game, so then that kind of was a failed strategy. So I think I kind of would have liked maybe some kind of recommendation or some kind of maneuverability there, like, hey, if you're going to add these 18 cards in, these are 18 cards you might want to remove. Or if you're going to put in these 18 cards, remove 18 cards of matching colors, etc. So that is kind of the one thing, like I said, I kind of would have like to have seen, not just, grab what you want and shuffle it in, because it's going to kind of get lost there. But overall, I do think, like I said, this is a good expansion if you want more stuff. This isn't, like I said, this will change up the gameplay some. So it's not going to just literally be more of the Doomlings with just the basic stuff. This will change the gameplay. So if that is the type of expansion you're looking for, then go ahead and get the variety expansion of Doomlings. I'll include a link to the website down below. We get nothing from that. I'm just going to point you to where you can go ahead and get it. But as for places that you can support the channel that we get stuff from, prior to that, you can like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring the bell. Comment down below on what is your favorite Doomlings character. But the other ways you can help support this channel is by joining our Patreon, hitting up our Ko-fi, or joining the channel with the join button down below. If you are looking for somewhere to go ahead and purchase games and help the channel, we have an affiliate link to Miniature Market down there that if you purchase stuff while using that link, we do get a portion of those sales. Alrighty, so have some variety for the end of the world.